In this video today, I'd like to give those that are pretty much committed to wanting to retire in Armenia a plan to follow that will be very beneficial to you and hopefully helpful. I am directing these comments to essentially people that have maybe 95% decided that they are going to come to Armenia. You might be booking within 72 hours, hopefully for about a month out. So that would give us some time to find apartments for you and to get the rest of the plan in place. For those coming from the United States or through the United States, as I've mentioned before in other videos, Spirit flies directly into Armenia from Fort Lauderdale. So making the connection there, the flight's about 3 hours and 15 or 20 minutes. Part of this plan is I pick you up at the airport and take you to your accommodation. From the West Coast, I'm not sure what the connections are. Excuse me, I had a client come through from California, come through Panama, went into Bogota, but he had Spanish. There's a terminal change, I believe, still in Bogota from the international terminal to the national, and without Spanish, it makes it a little bit difficult. This plan takes advantage of our 2-day Get to Know Armenia package. And it looks at rentals for you. We send you some options after we have your preferences and try to narrow it down to 3 or 4 apartments that we can visit while you're here. The first few days of the plan, maybe 5, you should book an Airbnb. We'll need that time to furnish your apartment. We suggest that you look at unfurnished because the difference between furnished and unfurnished in the same building can be as much as $300 a month. On a 6-month rental, that's $1,800. If you saw our previous video, you can easily furnish for $4,500. So most of your expense is covered with the savings by not having a furnished apartment. Furnished is very difficult to find. The selection, we would have you only in the better barrios, and by the time you have furnished, better barrio, convenient, the right price, the choice is very, very limited. We mentioned looking for apartments for you and giving you some options. And we want to explain why it would be best that we do that for you. The first thing is in Colombia and Armenia, there's no zoning. In Canada, United States, you don't get industrial and commercial mixed in with residential. But here, it's common. I can give you the example of the Chevrolet dealer here in the north end of town, surrounded by residential that have to listen to the air guns and the air tools all day, and it's disturbing. If you walk the street in front of the Chevrolet dealer, there is a 3-story hotel, a couple of houses, then there's a bank with apartments above, and then there's about a 5-story building, followed by a bake shop, which leads, after a couple of more buildings, to the largest mall in Armenia. So you have to know those things when you're looking for apartments. Some of the better barrios have bad areas. You don't want, Castellana is the best barrio in Armenia, but part of it fronts onto the main 4-lane road north-south that goes through the middle of town. So if you're deep into the barrio, it's a great place to have an apartment. But if you're on the fringe, close to the 4-lane highway where there's a lot of buses, a lot of trucks, a lot of street noise that goes sometimes into the early hours of the morning, it's not where you want to be. You also won't have a car in most cases here, so you want things within walking distance. The best barrio for that is called Laurelli's, but there's a couple of others. Coinca, where I live, the main shopping plaza is only 3 blocks away. Laurelli's is small commercial, a lot of little restaurants that you can enjoy, a very short walk, and from there too, the main mall is only 3 or 4 blocks away. Some of the buildings you will see that are listed are priced very well, but you have to understand that many of them don't have an elevator. In Colombia, as soon as you go to the 6th floor, you need to put an elevator in as a builder. If you build 5 or less, then there's no requirement for an elevator. And I only know of 2 buildings here that are 5 stories that have an elevator. So many people don't want to walk up 4 or 5 floors. If you're walking up from a garage, it probably wouldn't be your situation because you wouldn't have a car. But at the same time, 4 or 5 floors every time you leave the apartment is a little bit much. Some of the older places that might appeal to you based on price are dark. There was a period here where a lot of the apartments and maybe a 2nd floor of a house have wood ceilings that were stained a very dark color, and the windows are not as large as they are in the newer apartments. So it's a bit confining. You don't feel as though you're there. There's very little natural light. I mentioned that we would look for 4 or 5 apartments for you. Here, it's standard to have a guarantor, and you won't have one. So the solution to that is, as in most cases, money talks. You will need to probably pay first and last month. In some cases, unless you pay all 6 months, you won't get the apartment. So that's something that has to be overcome, has to be negotiated, but it's doable. I mentioned our package. It's 2 days at $175 a day. It includes lunch every day and also airport pickup and drop off. If you have people coming here, I don't need to be dropping you off 8 months from now or whatever it is. I will give you an airport pickup and an airport drop off that doesn't necessarily have to be you, or 2 airport pickups if that's what you prefer. If you come and relatives or friends follow in 2 or 3 months, then their airport pickup is included in the package price. The package includes an orientation of about 2 hours. We sit down, have a coffee, maybe a little Colombian bakery item, pan de bono, pan de queso, buñuelo, and just talk about Armenia. Part of this package is the information that you're going to get that I've accumulated over 13 years here that will both save you money and save you aggravation. The major part of it is local knowledge. I can tell you where on Wednesday drugs are 30% off with delivery of $1. I can tell you where the best meat is in town, and it's also delivered. It's the same price, $1 or $1.10, to have it delivered from the center of town, and fresh and a better cut and better quality than you get at the larger stores. I can tell you where to get a doctor that makes house calls. How long has it been? I know in Canada there's not many doctors that make house calls, but they do here. I can tell you where you go to get a shot if there's something that's bothering you health-wise. Drugstores here have a little room at the back, and if you have a flu, they call it gripa here, for example, they can give you a shot for that to help you out. Part of the savings as well would be when you purchase your appliances and those sorts of things. I've mentioned in other videos we have a card that gives a further discount that would be given to you so that you saved that further discount. It's money that either goes into the store's pocket or goes into yours, and we will let you take advantage of that card. I think it's reasonable to expect that you will be years down the line after a couple of days. There's lots of tips that will save you money that I can pass on to you. I think, in summary, you won't find a better place than Armenia, and with that I'm talking worldwide. I know there's people going to the Far East. They're taking a day to get back to the United States, I suppose. I don't know what the airline schedules are. But from here to the United States is basically 3 hours. Probably door to door, you're looking at 6 or 7 hours, depending on where you need to get to. But flying into Fort Lauderdale, if you're in that area, Miami, and so on, it can't be more than 7 hours. By the time you get to the airport here a couple hours early, fly, and then get to your destination, it may even be less than 7. I think there's value in convenience. We'll get you into a convenient burial, secure, gated, pool, sometimes a sauna, sometimes a gym. It's a good program. It's a good plan. It will fill in some of the holes that you may be thinking about. A lot of the advantage to this plan is the information that we will pass on to you in casual conversation. The other advantage is the help continues. I have a client that came here in October. He rented, still rents, lives not far from me. I helped him with his tourist visa. Not that I did any work on it, but I gave him a little bit of, I'm sorry, not his tourist visa, his pension visa. He was on a tourist visa, but now has a pension visa. I help him probably a couple times a week and answer questions that he has, and I direct him to the proper place that he needs to go to. I mean, even if it's something as simple as a better cell phone plan that he's taken advantage of, that he has saved a lot of money on. Those sorts of things I do for no charge. I am very, very happy to help people out. So if you want to take advantage of this, please get a hold of me. I want you to be sure that you're coming to Armenia. If you're coming for the first time, you can take advantage of the plan, and maybe it will be helpful, but that's your decision. That's the end of my video for today. I'm William Hutchison with Armenia, Colombia Realty for Expats. .com if you want to check out the webpage. I've said it many times. I live in paradise, and you can too.